File 001. Missing fishing boats in the Black Sea. Off the coast of Trabzon, an area near the Arsin Line. For fishermen, these waters are not foreign. There are routes used for generations. The same departure points, the same return times, the same current lines. These routes are not marked on maps. They are passed down by word of mouth, learned through experience. Where to cast the nets, what time to turn back, in which wind the risk increases. None of this is written down, but it is known. Weather conditions, currents, depth. The local fishermen know them all, more or less. But in the Black Sea, knowing never means controlling. Because this sea is as unpredictable as it is familiar. According to the records, a fishing boat set sail in the early morning hours. This was not a sudden decision. It was planned. It was ordinary. The weather reports for that day contained no unusual warnings. The sea was calm. The wind was low. For fishermen, these kinds of days are not considered risky. On the contrary, they are the most preferred times. A silent sea is seen as a controllable sea. That is why setting sail that morning was a routine act. Hours passed. Later that same day, a boat was spotted drifting off the coast. The boat was not stationary, it was drifting. This is the first detail that stands out. What was seen upon approaching was even stranger. There is no one on the boat. The engine is off. The boat is not capsized. There is no visible sign of a collision. The nets are in place. The boat does not appear damaged, but the boat is empty. At this point, the incident ceases to be an ordinary maritime situation, because it is possible for a boat to drift, but for its owner to completely vanish raises other questions. In the initial investigation, personal belongings are found on the boat. A mobile phone, fishing equipment, daily items. This detail creates a significant break in the file, because in man overboard cases, a trace is usually left behind. A life jacket, an item floating on the surface, a piece washed ashore. In this case, there is none of that. The fact that the belongings remained on the boat makes it difficult to explain the event as a moment of sudden panic. This is the second uncertainty. The incident is reported to 112 emergency. Coast Guard teams are dispatched to the area. Search operations begin. Boats are launched. The shoreline is scanned. Specific points are checked over and over again. Diving teams are put on standby. The seabed begins to be scanned with sonar devices. The search initially focuses on the surface, because in many cases, traces are first found there. However, the Black Sea is not a sea limited to the surface. Even in areas close to the shore, the depth increases abruptly. In some spots, visibility drops below a few meters. Currents are not noticed on the surface, but they change direction underwater. These currents can make a small object invisible in a very short time. This is one of the most well-known features of the Black Sea, and at the same time, the most challenging. The first day yields no results. On the second day, the search area is expanded. On the third day, they focus on different depths. Sonar scans continue. Divers are sent down to specific points, but the sea gives no sign. At this point, the available facts are clear, but they are not a conclusion. The boat has been found, the person has not. Weather conditions are not unusual. The sea is calm. The boat has been found. The person has not. The weather conditions are not unusual. The sea is calm. There is no clear evidence on the boat of a struggle, a sudden panic, or outside interference. Surface scans have yielded no results, nor have the deep scans. As the search time lengthens, answers have not increased. The uncertainty has deepened. Therefore, the file cannot be classified as a classic missing person case. As the days progress, the search operations become technically more complex. To obtain clearer images in the deep areas, it is recorded that specialized equipment is requested. This request represents a critical threshold in the file, because at this point, it is accepted that existing methods are insufficient. What they are looking for is not on the surface. They must look deeper. But as the depth increases, the clarity decreases. Images may be captured, but meaning cannot be produced. Technology comes into play, but the sea still gives no answer. What goes into the records is not a new finding, but growing uncertainty. By the seventh day, there is still no trace. No personal item, no life jacket, no solid finding explaining the disappearance. At this point, the incident is no longer just a missing person case. It turns into a file of uncertainty. Because in the Black Sea, records like this are not being kept for the first time. From this point on, the file is no longer limited to a single case. Within the same file, there are similar cases from different coasts. On the Samsun-Çarşamba line, communication is lost with a fishing boat that had set sail. The searches last for days. The boat is found, but there is no one on the boat. Off the coast of Ordu Perşembe, in another boat found drifting, the nets and equipment are in place. There is no trace of the fisherman. Off the shores of Zonguldak, an empty fishing boat with its engine off enters the records. The sea is scanned. The shoreline is checked. The result does not change. Off the coast of Bartinamasra, too, a days-long search is conducted for a boat known to have set sail. The crew is never found. These records stand side by side in the same file. The boats are there, but there are no answers. Boats found, but owners missing. Unfinished hunts. Files closed in silence. The common feature of these files is this: they do not provide answers. They only leave a record. Can a person on the open sea disappear without leaving any trace? This question remains unanswered in this file. Black record. REC does not answer this question. It doesn't try to. What it does is different. It places the records side by side. It marks the gaps and leaves the decision to the viewer. File 001 ends here. But in the Black Sea, there are other records that have not yet been closed.